Meeting started here. We got a short agenda, but it's a good agenda out there. If you haven't had a chance yet, please sign in down there as you're leaving or now, whenever it makes sense to do that. Welcome everybody to North Liberty's new City Hall and City Council chambers. I think most of you have been able to be here with us in the past month or two since we've moved in. We're really excited. I think we're mostly moved in. We got a few things that we're still working out, but we're really excited to be here. We have, oddly enough, had to already use this tornado shelter once for council meetings. So I don't think it'll come to that tonight, but we'll get through this quickly enough. What I want to do first is go around the table, introduce yourselves, where you're from, and we'll get on to the reason we're all here, Katie. So, Paul, would you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Paul Park. I'm on the City Council in North Liberty. Live a couple doors down. Yeah, that's me.
John Green, Johnson County Supervisor, Rural Oak Tree.
Molly Abraham, Iowa City School Board.
Julie Persons, Mayor of Swisher.
Kathy Knebel, Hills Community.
Tim Kemp, Mayor Hills.
Stephanie Gahn, University Heights City Council.
Tim Morris, Tiffin City Council.
Laura Burgess, Iowa City Council.
Lori Goodrich, Coralville City Council.
Megan Foster, Mayor of Coralville.
Lisa Williams, Iowa City School Board.
Sean Isom, Iowa City School Board.
Charlie Eastham, Iowa City School Board.
Eric Sittig, North Liberty City Council.
Josh Moe, Iowa City City Council.
Megan Alter, Iowa City City Council.
And Chris Hoffman, Mayor here in North Liberty. Katie, you're up. You guys are ready to go. The only thing on our agenda, is this exciting pop-up metro update.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for the invitation to present at your meeting. I'm Mackenzie DeRue. I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy for Greater Iowa City, Inc., here with my colleague, Katie Gerlach, who is Senior Director of Community Development at Greater IC, as well as Executive Director of Project Better Together. And we are here for some exciting updates on a potential train or pop-up metro that could connect our region along the existing Crandic Railroad line. So quickly, a little bit about how we got here. So starting in 2020 through 2022, our community is engaged in a regional visioning process, which many of you participated in and continue to move forward with your efforts. And we came up with these 5 pillars, as I'm sure you're well aware of. And in order to continue with positive momentum, we assigned a specific organization as a leadership role in each pillar. And so pillars 2, 3, and 4, authentic, vibrant neighborhoods and districts, a well-connected mobile region, and a thriving, inclusive economic ecosystem, really fell to Greater Iowa City because they're economic development focused. And so we've been working on moving those initiatives forward through our efforts. As I mentioned, pillar 3 is talking about a reliable regional transit system. And this isn't a new conversation. It's been one that's been happening for quite a while. I believe since 2015, our region has undergone 4 conceptual feasibility studies and is currently engaged in a 5th one right now, the bus rapid transit study aligned that would also be along the Crandic line. This year, we were approached with sort of an exciting opportunity from Pop-Up Metro, and really what they're offering is a rapidly deployable train that would run along the Crandic. It would be for passengers. They would provide a lease kit that would have everything except the driver. So train cars, charging infrastructure, they would be battery powered, modular platforms that you could set up along the line, as well as continued maintenance. And so what we're really excited about is that unlike the previous work that's been done, this project could function as a live study to actually prove rather than project ridership. And they would allow us to engage on a 3-year pilot program to be able to see some trends over time. And afterwards, if it worked for our region, we could think about more permanent solutions, either continue to work with Pop-Up Metro or through other types of regional transit, or we could decide that the demand isn't there and sort of shift our priorities rather than chronic studies that don't necessarily seem to translate into regional transit. The other great thing is that it could take months and not years. Which is an exciting timeline that we could see some impacts, especially with some major developments happening, thinking specifically in North Liberty with the new hospital. How can we maybe start to influence how workers get to their place of employment before they establish commuting patterns? So we're really excited about this opportunity, but the real expert is my colleague Katie, who just got back from driving the train in Pennsylvania last week, and she's got some more specifics for you.
All right. Well, I thought I would bring this just to
get us started. And then I'm trying to really channel it. Glad Kent is here too, because Kent is going to be driving that train in August. So as you've all heard, Pop-Up Metro is an opportunity that our community has to really connect parts of Iowa City through Coralville into North Liberty, but really connect the region as a whole. We've had people test their drives from their homes near Solon, 10 minutes to a stop at Penn Street. Tiffin, another 10 minutes on Forever Green Road. And as we continue to improve this, we can only see the opportunities for Hills to connect on the southern side and Lone Tree as well. So by way of explanation, Pop-Up Metro, we've been exploring this, and they explored 75 sites in the U.S. And Iowa City, I'm going to take this off so I can actually focus on all of you. They studied 75 sites, and Krandick was their number one. So it is an existing asset. It has all of the tools for success. We just need to help operationalize it. We were introduced to them through the Hawkeye Express team. You might remember them on the Iowa Interstate Railroad. So Pop-Up Metro is also the owner of the Iowa Interstate Railroad. So that's also really helpful to know. They have Iowa connections. They understand our community. They also have longstanding relationships with the Iowa DOT. Our Better Together Pillar 3 team explored this opportunity with Laura Burgess, Kelly Hayworth, Austin Corns, and myself. And we just thought it was a great opportunity to connect a unique existing asset that we had with climate action goals. It is battery powered, and utilize it right when we're looking at changes in commuting patterns. So we've had 8 community briefings across the county, across different sectors. We've briefed elected officials, different municipal stakeholders, cities, counties, ECCOG, the MPO, business leaders, community leaders, civic champions. We got consistent questions from each of those groups about routes and timing, accessibility and cost, where would the platforms be placed, what sort of insurance do you need for things like this, what's the asset life, and what's the battery like, how does it charge, and how do you dispose of it? They've given us great responses to those, but we wanted to really see the train in action. So we've made a couple plans to not only go just recently like I did, but we're going to be planning a few more trips. Going forward, our proposed deployment timeline, I'm going to use all their train lingo. So they'd like to deploy within the next year. So their budget is forthcoming. Right now, Krandick has their budget to confirm their assumptions about crossings and rail improvements. And then what we would ask is that the MPO receives direction from MPO board members in August to begin directing and negotiating an MOU with Pop-Up Metro. And that could continue through the fall. Then in the winter and spring, we could continue our grant applications and planning and work with the MPO staff for transit plan amendments and grant applications and updates. The spring, we could work with our transit operators to actually get the routes planned, fares planned. And in the winter, we could really begin a public education and safety campaign. And then this could be fully operational by next fall. So as we've continued, it's been very clear that we need to outline what is everybody's role in this, because clearly Better Together, we're not going to be, I would love to drive the train, but I probably shouldn't be a full-time train driver. It's the MPO is our really critical partner in this to help drive the MOU and the plan amendments that we need to meet all of those obligations. But our cities and the university have a critical role in this. And then our community and economic development partners know we have a role in this as well. Went on a recent field trip. You can see the train there coming through the rural Pennsylvania forest. I got to drive the train. The picture there of Matt, you'll see Matt is actually scheduled to be a part of the Iowa City deployment. He would move to our community for 3 years. He asked us lots of questions about the community. We met his spouse. We talked about what employment opportunities she would have in our community. They're very serious about this, and they're ready to go. There's the inside of the car. And there's Evan, our newest hire, driving the train. He's only worked for us for 3 weeks, and so he got to go right away. There's the team welcoming us, and that's a little bit of what the cab looks like. And I thought I would play a short video so you can kind of see what the train looks like when it's driving. Has to blow that horn at every crossing, unless it's a protected crossing. They're pretty old rail lines, so it's home, Rock Hill Furnace is home of one of the original narrow gauge rail lines in the United States. And so, depending on the age of the rail, you'll hear different noises. And this is literally what it feels like to be inside. I think we should plan a trip when the leaves are changing. It's beautiful there. There's charging ports in each of the seats. There's Wi-Fi, air conditioning. The doors are operable by the passengers when they're ready to get out. They can hit the button and that activates. The driver can also activate that. It runs forwards, and then the driver gets out, does safety checks, walks around, and drives it back the other way. You can fit 187 passengers in the two cars, and they're estimating timetables. I didn't provide any timetables in this presentation because we don't want to get lost in the weeds of that. That's something really the transit authorities should be working on with this team. But they're estimating 13 minutes from Forever Green Road to the medical campus on Riverside. You can see all sorts of different standing, sitting, and here's the modular platform where it arrives. There will be gap fillers. Right now this is a little bit wider because it also houses a trolley that goes through. But normally there'll be a gap filler that will protect people as they step in and out of the train. And there it is. So we'd love to invite any of you to come with us in August. We're inviting members of Greater IC councils as well as other people that have seen the presentation. It'd be great to have however many your quorum is, less than that, come with us. I recently went trying to make it the shortest drive to Rock Hill Furnace through Harrisburg. I would not recommend that after doing it. We were caught up both ways going in and out. Did not save the hour that we could have saved just by driving from a direct flight from DC. So we're proposing this. I'll send this out to each of you tomorrow, along with where we'll be staying in a hotel, opportunities, kind of an overall budget, and we'll be carpooling in minivans from DC if you'd like to go with us. But this is how you could drive the train. We'd love to have any questions, but get you out of here in time for any tornadoes.
I'll just do kind of like my rapid fire, but it's not that many. One is with the Venn diagram of stakeholders and whose roles and whatnot, because of the university and the hospital, have they been presented with this? Are they?
Yeah. So the University of Iowa has been presented with the opportunity. Their president's office has sent representatives to see. Their general counsel from the university hospital systems has seen it, and their parking and transportation systems have been offered the opportunity to see it. And hopefully they will engage with us as we go forward. I think they also will need some prodding about their responsibility in helping to fund this. And their creation of the need for us to need something like this. We're doing this with a lot of different projects, explaining to them, some of the social determinants of health issues that our communities are all facing. Our communities don't have the tax base that they would have if there was a large employer of the same or similar size paying property taxes that would amount to that, to cover those. So we're trying to have those conversations.
The other is, it's much smaller. When you were talking about that the doors open by passengers, there's a safety thing of they can't just open it while the thing is moving, correct?
Nope.
That's what I thought.
We
Okay.
tested
Just
that.
wanted to double check on that because I was like, no, that feels
They're
like
repurposed underground cars. So they were on the above ground tracks in the UK, and then they were repurposed by a company called Viva Rail in Europe. Viva Rail has since stopped producing these, but they have other suppliers that they've gotten. And Matt, the person you saw, actually used to work for Viva Rail, so he knows how to create these cars.
Charlie Eastham from the Iowa City School Board. It was a great presentation. Thanks very much. It was very interesting to me anyway. I'm wondering in your work right now, if you're paying particular attention to school safety issues, students who might have to be crossing tracks with this increased usage of the tracks.
Yeah, so in the timeline, one of the things that we're really critically focusing on is safety briefings, and Operation Lifesaver is one of the biggest programs that train companies follow. And RDC and through them, Pop-Up Metro are one of the biggest contributors to Operation Lifesaver. That's the first thing they mention to us every time when we meet them is safety. Every time we stepped foot onto the rail yard, we received a safety briefing. And one of the things that we've really been working on with them is how to get a community used to seeing trains on tracks that isn't used to seeing trains on tracks. One idea they had was that we bring the train here next spring and run a tourism operation from IRL to downtown. They said that regulation and the regulatory work would take no time at all. We could be running this train from the Iowa River Landing to downtown, which has very few crossings that engage with people, just for people to start to see it and get used to the idea of a train.
I like the idea of like getting real data for seeing how people will actually react with the train, as opposed to just a theoretical how would people say they're going to react. But it makes me wonder who's responsible for promoting this so that we do get accurate ridership. I know if we don't promote something, people might not know about it. We might get data that suggests we don't want public transportation. Reverse of that is, does Pop-Up Metro do the marketing, or do the cities do that? Does the MPO?
That would be a coordinated effort from everyone, but Greater Iowa City, Think Iowa City, and our Better Together partners would take the lead in the public education campaign and the marketing and making sure that all of our municipalities are coordinated in getting that out. But it would take a budget of marketing and really getting the word out there.
And would riders then ride this for free, pay, or who would manage the sort of ticketing and finance of it?
So my real dream here is that this is the stepping stone to a coordinated regional transit system, because you might need one to actually make this work. With 2080 agreements and other ways that you could get this going. Fares are up to the kind of coordinating entities. I think fare free has shown that people are really more likely to use it if it is fare free, and that's not a barrier. We've also heard from them that commuter rails pull in about 12 to 15% of their revenue from the fare box, but that it costs 8 to 12% to actually monitor and maintain the fare box. So it might not be worth that 5% you would gain.
I have one more question. What is regarding UIHC and how much this benefits their business? What's the right way to, for all of us to sort of get them engaged?
I would love to know. I'm really working hard on that. And I think it's a time to have a hard conversation with them about a lot of things and a lot of expectations that we need to have of them as a community partner. Because I think, they're a wonderful community partner with the hospital and the university, and we know we need them, but they also need us in many ways. I mean, someone said to us, it's not like they can pack up and move town, And if you think about it, it's like if you worry about that with large employers, could a large employer leave? It would be much harder for the University of Iowa to do that. So I think it probably is time for some hard conversations of all of us really leaning in and asking them to carry some of the weight that you've all been carrying for many years.
Add that we have an executive council that's comprised of leaders from the public and private sector, so we are moving forward with this with their approval and support, and Dr. Jameson is joining that board, or has now, this July. So these conversations will be happening with her in the room, and certainly the university's role will be part of that.
I'd just add too, there is university representation on the MPO board, so they will have input there. Katie, I wanted to go back to safety kind of just for a second. What Krandic is doing right now, reviewing budget, is making sure that there are no crossings that need to be updated that they have not identified. So part of this project, the project is using the existing rail line, but there may be crossings that need to be upgraded for safety reasons or things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I asked the team when we were there if part of the reason we're seeing all this work on the Krandic right now is because Krandic is very excited about this, and they said that they were wondering the same thing. And when they approached Krandic, it's kind of just luck that we've all been working on this at the same time. But that is a big part of it. Is there's a couple of crossings, particularly in Coralville, on 12th and Oakdale area and near the research park that will need significant crossing work to make sure that people are safe. The other group I forgot to mention was Kirkwood. This is a way to really open up the south campus of Iowa City that has closed. The people that were going there can easily get to this new campus and the Coralville campus in 10 minutes without changing 4 buses.
The video you showed, is that about how fast it goes?
Yeah.
Is that top speed?
We can get it up to 60 miles an hour on the Crandic.
16?
60. They recommend not going above 40. I took it at 16 and it felt like my hair was flying backwards. But nobody else thought it was going that fast, but it felt very fast.
Like slam on the brakes during that time?
Never had to, but he did throw the brake down and it stopped very quickly.
Katie, what about accessibility? Wheelchair accessible?
Yep, every door is ADA compliant. There are a few doors that have actual ADA, even ADA plus, I would call it, where you can pull in and actually lock your chair in. You can also park bikes on there, e-bikes, regular bikes, and the modular systems. I thought they were going to look kind of maybe hodgepodge and weak. I was very surprised at how sturdy it was and how solid it was. It's been used at the Army-Navy game, taken down, put back up, 2 or 3 of them, and they're solid. So they can be moved around too. If a spot isn't working, we can test another spot. But I say that also that people should know they're not going to be super cute and attractive train stops. Let's test train stops.
So I think the city of Coralville had a presentation at council, is that right, about this, or some discussion already? I don't know if any of the other municipalities have, but if individual cities, the county, university, school district, to the extent it wants to have input, want to move forward, what do you need next from each entity?
So this is one of those fun systems questions where we don't really know what starts it, but we need a domino to fall. And the one that I think would work, and I think Kemp might agree, but I'll defer to him, is that the MPO receives direction from those elected officials that serve on the MPO. So however it is your entity gives direction to the MPO, do that. Is that the fair way to do it?
Sorry.
Okay.
What about maintenance?
So during the lease term, they'll take care of all maintenance. There's what they call a beer tent, but I think it's like a maintenance tent, almost like a practice tent of a football team that the trains park in. And that's where they'll charge as well. And they take care of all of that as part of the lease.
Test phase, and then after that, would the plan then be, are we buying a train, or we work with them still if that were to continue on?
This is the negotiation and the MOU that you can have with the MPO, but they're open to a lease to purchase after 3 years. You can extend the lease term another 3 years, or we could just purchase the trains outright. By then we'll have better user numbers that'll qualify us for those federal and state grants that should allow us to buy additional cars or maintenance facilities or better stops.
Is the idea that it would just be one train during this pilot, such as that?
Yep, there's 2 cars and it will just go down and back.
Or 2 cars.
4 batteries. Each car or each train will have 2 batteries, and then there'll be 2 that are charging. The other trick in this project is that Alliant owns the Crandic. So Trevero owns Crandic, Alliant, and ADM. So the place we need to charge the batteries is owned by the same company that runs the rails, that also uses it for storage for their soybean oils and corn oils north of North Liberty. So it's a win-win for Crandic, but also the charging part, we're going to have to make sure we avoid peak. Chris can talk about that. Peak demand charging. So the goal would be to store enough energy in the off-peak hours that you're charging it up in 15 to 20 minutes between the routes, and then just swapping the batteries with the forklift.
You mentioned 13 minutes between Forever Green Road and you said the
Hospital campus.
Is that the VA platform?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what the initial idea of the route, can you just talk about like timing and frequency and any initial conversations that have happened around that?
They're flexible. They originally presented this as a student mover until we really dug into the needs. That CAN bus really has that figured out. What we need are more of our employees, and we need people to be able to live in places that are more affordable and work in places that might be less affordable to them. And so with that, they said, maybe we start at 4 a.m. because that's when nurses need to be on site. Maybe we go till 10 p.m. Maybe we, it's really open. They're flexible. It's just everything comes at a cost too. I said, can we change the colors? They said, yeah. For this, we'll put it in the budget. But I think Alliant we've worked with Alliant and Mid-American as well, and they've seen this presentation, as has Lynn County REC.
When will we get to see the memorandum of understanding or the proposal?
So the budget is what we're waiting for first, and then I think the MOU they'll send to the MPO. Hopefully in the fall. Whenever you direct the MPO to start, I'm guessing Kent could send an email and get it going.
When's our next meeting?
Potentially in September, but not likely till November, just based on what we need for agenda items.
So probably September.
So you want direction from MPO before we have a budget or a proposal?
No, so I would recommend that we wait for this budget to start. And then once the budget comes, we can ask for a draft MOU, at least to circulate. But I think you're going to want to start those conversations with the MPO sooner than that.
Sorry, maybe a question for Kent. At the MPO meeting, was it last week or whenever, we talk about the bus rapid transit study. When again is that going to be? Do we expect that?
Yeah, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
I was going to say derail the conversation.
You have to wear the hat when you talk.
So my name is Kent Ralston. I'm the director of the local metropolitan planning organization. And so just a few minutes here, if you'll humor me. So the MPO has been involved in these kind of discussions now for 10, 15 years. We finished a 3-part study back in 2020 that was for passenger rail that basically mimicked this, except a permanent solution, so to speak. Fast forward to last fall, our board, who's comprised of 15 elected officials, many of which are sitting at the table today, gave us direction to move forward with the bus rapid transit feasibility study that you're mentioning. So that study is to look at converting this very rail to use for buses. So basically taking the tracks out, paving it, and running buses up and down that as a dedicated resource for buses. That study should be done September 1st. Unlike this study, which is meant to actually provide proof of concept, this is just a study to show us the feasibility of doing so. So it'll have costs, it'll have operation and maintenance costs, it will have the feasibility, including the run times, how long it takes to move the bus from north to south, basically from Penn Street down to Burlington Street. So again, mimicking this, but a little bit different. And a big part of what the study does that this can't do, so to speak, is give us a ridership estimate. So they take a deep dive into actual modeling to see how many folks would ride a bus, whereas this idea is to see how many folks actually get on a train. So it's kind of two different things. I'm still a little bit murky on how this, because it's a little bit new to me too, on how this will all work out. My personal recommendation would be to wait until after September 1st so we can see what the cost and the feasibility of the bus rapid transit study will be. Because then we've got the 2020 Crandic rail study that we have. We'll have our study. Then I think, to me, what makes most sense, and again, I've not thought about this a ton, but I think you almost have to decide if you want to move the bus route or sort of the train route. Because of what we've already talked about tonight, where there's going to be some expense in moving one direction only to have to change our minds later and move a different direction. So again, that's just me speaking out loud. I really haven't spent much time on that. But to me, it seems like you've sort of got to make a decision on if you're going the bus route or the train route. Then if you're going the train route, do you do a pop-up metro as a proof of concept, or do you go completely into a permanent rail solution? Again, that's just me. I've not talked to our board about that. That's just thoughts off the top of my head. But September 1st is the very short answer of when that will be done.
And I did get, many of you have seen the presentation, and there was a sense of urgency from Pop-Up Metro. I got the sense when we were there that that's the vice president for development that's getting out there giving us this urgency, that it will take a little bit longer to stand up. When they say months, it's like 11 months, not years. So I do think we have a little more time than we originally felt from the presentation.
Which is good, because we've got plenty enough to do. This is going to be a hell of an effort at coordination. Some folks have asked about some difficulties in trying to get buy-in from the university, but I'd invite all of us to maybe look at it 90 degrees differently and say that this is potentially a catalyst to really grow into better regional collaboration. Both municipalities, private entities, the university. There's just so many. We need the first domino to fall, but we are tremendously fortunate in the arrangement of the dominoes between the ownership of the tracks, ADM, the utilities. We've got plenty to do, but this is a hell of an opportunity.
We also stand to make the tracks more valuable by operationalizing this for Crandick, so that would be the other reason to not make that decision until you've decided if you want to offer to pave over their tracks.
Just talking a little bit about the budget. I know we don't have the budget yet, but just can you talk a little bit about some of the maybe federal opportunities or opportunities for federal funding that we could utilize? Because that's the other thing, is that we can kind of strike while the iron's hot in terms of like the infrastructure money that's out there. But and any ideas yet on any type of split between municipalities, private, and any other type of federal funding we could get?
The budget will propose an 80-20 split, potentially a 90-10 match, so 80 or 90 federal and state with 10 to 20 local. He said the word tens of millions, so that at least feels to us less than hundreds. It's been very general, so I wouldn't be able to give those estimates, but where they've seen the most successes in the environmental and climate action goals, from the Inflation Reduction Act, especially because the batteries themselves are really, really competitive in terms of what they're able to do. I don't know if I have a picture of the battery, but it's not that big, and it's running a train. So it's probably about the size of one of those wheel cases. It's quite amazing what these batteries can do. And the second one is really just for redundancy so that it doesn't stop. So the batteries provide an entree into EPA funding, Department of Energy funding, as well as, what did they say? In addition to the FRA funding, the Federal Rail Administration funding, and DOT funding. But that they have meetings right now with the EPA and the DOT. They also have a lot of study opportunities about passenger counting. So they have counters that they're studying with Carnegie Mellon that we can add in. We could do a local study with our university partners. That just can't be their contribution. That's the key we want to keep in mind.
If you all don't mind, I'd like to move this along. We just heard that we might have some pretty strong hail here in about the next 45 minutes. Any very important questions to ask of Katie for the greater good of the group? Otherwise, please direct them to her, and maybe you can send out some responses from them. Thank you so much for being here.
And anyone can borrow the hat if you ever want. It's really fun. I will say the whole place is amazing. So if you can come, we'd love to have you.
I'll move on to item 4 is general entity updates. And again, not to kick us out of here, but if there's anything pressing from any community. We got a new city hall. We've got Centennial Park that will start construction, I believe, on Wednesday or this week. That event center out there. No Blues and Barbecue next year because we will not quite be done. So please join us in 2026. And then our bridge over 380 at Penn Street is starting construction, and that'll take, I think this will be completed by the end of next year is what we're hoping for out there. I'm just going to move down the line. Coralville, any updates?
I'll keep it I'll abstain so that we can
Perfect.
move on.
Iowa City. No? Okay. Iowa City School Board. Listen to you guys, being easy here. Tiffin?
No.
Okay. UI Heights.
I am going to say something real
Okay.
quick. We have our police chief, Troy Kelsey, just retired from law enforcement. We have a new chief as of July 1st, Chris Akers. And then also September 10th, we have Lost that we're putting on our ballot. We're hoping to join Solon, Swisher, Tiffin, Hills, and Lone Tree in doing lost option sales tax.
Thank you.
No, thanks.
Tim, anything from Hills?
You got a nice place here, but we put up a new awning over our front door, so had a chance to come down. It's pretty cool looking.
Here we go. Thank you. And finally, the county.
Stay safe out there. And I hope some of you folks can join us in Pennsylvania next month.
And have I missed any entity? I thought I. Oh, I'm so sorry, Swisher. This is how it goes, isn't it, Julie?
Always.
Okay. Anything to add? Welcome. Any other business for the greater good? Blowing in the Doug's phone. All right. I'll move to adjourn. So thank you all for being up here and safe travels home.